At 9:15 a.m., Martin's phone finally buzzed. "I've watched the footage," his lawyer David said. "It's solid. You've got undeniable proof of gross misconduct and a health code violation. You can terminate him immediately. Just make sure you document the conversation. And Martin, record it too, for your protection." Martin nodded, jaw tight. "Thanks, David." He ended the call, exhaled, and looked at the pause video again. The betrayal still burned. Luis, the man he trusted more than anyone, had been poisoning his restaurant with mop water. Not out of malice, perhaps, but stupidity, laziness, or arrogance. Whatever the reason, it didn't matter. Martin had proof, and he would make it right. He showered, shaved the beard, and put on his clean button-down and khakis, his real self again. By the time he arrived at the restaurant, the morning rush was already beginning. The smell of smoked meat should have comforted him, but now all he could think about was contamination, betrayal, and the customers unknowingly eating food washed in chemicals. Luis was at the grill. When Martin walked in, the rest of the staff froze. Martin never came in this early. He usually arrived mid-morning after checking inventory reports. "Luis," he said quietly, his voice even but sharp. "Office. Now." Luis turned, wiping his hands on his apron, smiling faintly. "Morning, boss. Everything okay?" "Office," Martin repeated. Inside, Martin closed the door and locked it. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Luis looked nervous now, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "What's going on?" Martin placed the pen camera on the desk, clicked play. The tiny lens glowed blue, and video footage appeared on his laptop screen. Luis's face, the mop bucket, the ribs dunked in soapy water. His own voice saying, "Old man never checks at night anyway." Luis went pale. What is that?" "It's you," Martin said, voice trembling with restrained fury. "Washing ribs in mop water. Food people ate. My customers. My father's customers. You ruined everything I built." Luis stammered. I was just trying to save time. We were behind. The prep sink was clogged." "No," Martin snapped, slamming his hand on the desk. "Don't lie to me. You did this for weeks, didn't you? Every time I wasn't here, the ribs tasted like chemicals. You made us look like a filthy, careless kitchen. Do you have any idea what this has done to us? We've been shredded online. Customers are gone. The health inspector is coming Monday. And thanks to you, this place might not even exist by then." Luis looked down, face tight. "I didn't mean..." "You mean?" Martin's voice cracked. "You contaminated food with cleaning chemicals. You endangered people. And you did it under my roof." Silence. Then, softly, Luis said, "You changed, man. Ever since you got those reviews, you've been breathing down everyone's necks. You didn't trust me anymore." Martin blinked. "So this was payback?" "No," Luis said quickly, eyes wide. "It wasn't like that. I was just tired. Boss. We get crushed every night, short-staffed, always behind. The mop sinks closer. It's faster. I rinse it after. I didn't think." "That's right," Martin said bitterly. "You didn't think." He took a deep breath and pointed to the exit. "You're done here. Turn in your keys, your apron, everything. You'll get your last paycheck through payroll. If you set foot in this building again, I'll call the police. And if you even think about telling people this is a misunderstanding, I'll release the video to every local news outlet in town." Luis stared at him, jaw tight, eyes full of regret, or maybe just fear. "I'm sorry," he said finally, voice shaking. "I really am." "Get out," Martin said. "Now." Luis left without another word. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving Martin alone in the office, shaking with adrenaline. He sat down, buried his face in his hands, and let the weight of it all crash over him. The betrayal, the humiliation, the damage. The man he'd treated like family had nearly destroyed him. By the end of the day, the entire staff knew Luis was gone. Martin gathered everyone in the dining area and told them the truth, not every detail, but enough. There were serious food safety violations, he said, voice steady but tired. We've corrected the issue, and the responsible party is no longer with us. From now on, everything that touches food gets double-checked. I'm personally overseeing every prep process. We do things by the book, or we don't do them at all. Understood. There were murmurs of agreement, a few shocked faces. Rose's eyes widened when he said violation, but she nodded firmly. Tommy looked grim. They all understood what this meant. One person's shortcuts had endangered all their jobs. That night, after closing, Martin sat at his father's old stool by the counter, the same one his dad had used when he ran the place decades ago. The smell of smoked meat still lingered, but now it felt heavier, tainted. He opened his laptop and drafted a public post for the restaurant's social media pages. It took him an hour to find the right words. To our valued customers, we recently discovered a serious breach of our food safety procedures that affected the quality of some of our dishes. The employee responsible has been terminated, and we've since implemented strict new sanitation and supervision policies. Our top priority has always been your trust, and we're working directly with the health department to ensure every standard is exceeded. Martin's BBQ was founded on honesty, family, and hard work, and that hasn't changed. We're grateful for your patience and understanding. He hit post and leaned back, exhausted. He expected the comments to be harsh, but within an hour, something unexpected happened. Dozens of regulars, Jerry among them, left supportive replies. Good on you for owning up. That's integrity. Still the best ribs in town. Can't wait to come back. For the first time in weeks, Martin felt a glimmer of hope. The following Monday, the health inspector arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. Martin was already there, waiting. Every surface gleamed. Every thermometer, mop bucket, and sanitizer station was freshly labeled and logged. He'd replaced all the equipment Louise had used and retrained the entire kitchen staff over the weekend. The inspector spent 3 hours combing through every inch of the restaurant. Martin followed quietly, answering questions, showing receipts, explaining the new cleaning protocols. When the inspection was finally over, the inspector nodded, smiling slightly. Spotless. Not just compliant, exemplary. You've turned this place around, Mr. Hayes. Martin exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. Thank you. When a report came in that afternoon, A+ rating, no violations, Martin printed it out and pinned it proudly beside the counter where customers could see it. That night, he fired up the smoker himself, prepping a fresh batch of ribs with steady hands and a clear conscience. Sarah came by just before dinner rush. You did it, she said softly. You saved your father's legacy. Martin smiled faintly. I just made sure it didn't die from a mop bucket. They stood together watching the customers return, regulars laughing at their tables, the smell of clean smoke and real food filling the air again. For the first time in weeks, the place felt alive. But even as he smiled and served plates with renewed confidence, Martin made a quiet promise to himself. Never again would he let blind trust stand in the way of vigilance. Because he had learned the hard way, sometimes the real contamination isn't in the water, it's in the people you trust most. The following week, Martin's BBQ became the talk of the town. Not for the scandal, but for the comeback. Local food bloggers who'd once criticized the chemical taste returned out of curiosity. Their reviews were glowing. The ribs are better than ever, one post read. Crisp edges, perfect smoke ring, real flavor again. The owner clearly cleaned house, literally and figuratively. Within days, business doubled. The line once again wrapped around the block by noon. Some customers even stopped by just to shake Martin's hand. We saw your post, one man said. Most owners would have hidden it or blamed someone else. You faced it head on. That takes guts. Martin smiled, but the words stayed with him. Guts. It hadn't felt brave at the time, only necessary. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He was just trying to keep his father's name clean. Still, word spread fast. Local news outlets picked up the story. Restaurant owner goes undercover to expose food safety scandal in his own kitchen. Then regional media called. One evening, he found himself sitting across from a morning show host, retelling the story live on air. So you went undercover in your own restaurant? The host asked, intrigued. That's something out of a movie. What made you do it? Martin thought for a moment. Instinct, he said finally. When something feels wrong, it usually is. I had to see it with my own eyes. And how did it feel, the host pressed, to find out it was someone you trusted? He hesitated, then said quietly, like watching your foundation crack. But sometimes things have to break before you see what they're really made of. The interview aired that night, and within hours, social media exploded with praise. Hashtags trended. Hashtag undercover owner. Hashtag real integrity. Hashtag barbecue truth. People didn't just come for food anymore. They came for the story. A month later, a letter arrived at the restaurant. It was handwritten, no return address. Inside was a short note. Martin, you were right. I messed up bad. I got a job washing dishes at another place. Don't worry, I told him everything. I've been going to night classes on food safety. I want to fix what I broke. You didn't deserve that, and neither did your customers. I'm sorry for everything. Luis. Martin read it twice, then folded it quietly and tucked it into his desk drawer. He didn't forgive Luis, not completely, but he respected the effort. Sometimes repentance came slow, but at least it came. He looked around his office, the same one where he confronted Luis weeks ago. The space felt lighter now. Clean, honest. The smell of hickory smoke drifted in from the kitchen. Rosa was laughing with a customer at the counter. Tommy was wiping down the prep tables exactly the way Martin had taught him. Order had returned, and trust, real trust, was rebuilding. That evening, when the dinner rush died down, Sarah stopped by again with a small box. What's this? Martin asked. Open it, she said, smiling. Inside was a simple wooden sign, carved neatly. Integrity is the secret ingredient. Martin chuckled softly, eyes misting. You made this? Had it made, she said. I figure it fits your place better than any health certificate. He hung it right above the counter, where everyone could see it. Customers pointed it out, nodded, smiled. It became part of the restaurant's identity, a reminder that good food meant nothing without good values behind it. Months later, Martin was closing up after a long day when Jerry, the old regular who'd once complained about the ribs, walked in. Place smells right again, Jerry said with a grin. Knew you'd figure it out. Martin laughed. You were the first to notice something was off. Guess I owe you a free rack of ribs. Make it 2, Jerry said, winking. And keep doing what you're doing. The world needs more people who give a damn. After Jerry left, Martin sat by the smoker, the low crackle would echoing in the quiet. He thought about his father, the man who'd started this place with a single grill and promise. Feed people honestly, and they'll feed your soul in return. That promise had nearly been lost in a bucket of mop water, but now it had been reclaimed. Weeks later, a major magazine featured Martin's story under the headline, The Owner Who Went Undercover to Save His Restaurant and His Reputation. They wrote about how one man's determination turned a near disaster into a story of redemption, integrity, and second chances. The article went viral, not because of scandal, but because it reminded people that honesty still mattered in business. Tourists began showing up, curious to meet the undercover owner. Some just wanted a selfie. Others wanted advice on how to rebuild after betrayal. Martin always told them the same thing. You can replace broken tables, fix recipes, hire new people. But you can't rebuild trust if you don't face the truth. The truth saves you, even when it hurts. One rainy night months later, Martin stood at the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. The neon open sign glowed faintly against a dark street. He thought about Luis again, not with anger, but with quiet understanding. People made mistakes, some out of laziness, others out of fear. What mattered was what they did afterward. He took a deep breath and walked back into the kitchen, where Rosa and Tommy were cleaning up. Good work today, he said. Get some rest. When they left, he stayed behind, turned off the lights, and whispered to the empty dining room. We're still here, Dad. Still honest. Still standing. The smell of wood smoke lingered. Pure this time, untouched by chemicals or deceit. Just real barbecue. Real heart.